to everyone joining us from across the Middle East today, and a very warm welcome to this exclusive webinar, Reimagining Employee Lifecycle Management from Hire to Retire in the Digital Age, brought to you by ETHR World EMEA in association with greytHR. I'm Yasmin Taj, editor features, ETHR World and ET Education from the Economic Times, and I will be your host and moderator for this session today. So the world of work is evolving rapidly, and with it, expectations from HR are also undergoing a dramatic shift. From onboarding to exit and everything in between, the employee journey is no longer just a set of processes. It is a strategic continuum that can directly impact your workforce expectations, engagement, and productivity. And today we are going to uncover how digital platforms, automation, and data-driven insights are transforming this journey into an intelligent, seamless experience. And we have a fantastic panel of speakers who bring in real-world perspectives from across HR leadership, technology, and innovation today. So let me take the pleasure of introducing them to you. First up, I'd like to invite on my screen is Kabira Bhatporia, who's head of HR at JLL, a people leader championing digital-first HR transformation at scale. Hi, Kabira. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for inviting, and thank you for organizing such a great and such a meaningful event.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kabira. Next up, I'd like to invite on my screen Kunal Wadhwani, who's Chief Human Resource Officer at Choithrams, leading HR in a dynamic retail environment with complex workforce needs. Hi, Kunal. So good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on board. Thank you so much.
Lovely. And then we have Surya Srinivas, who's Vice President, Product and Engineering at greytHR, the brain behind innovative solutions powering employee life cycle excellence. Hi, Surya. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Yasmin, for having me, and looking forward to a great conversation.
Exactly. So am I. And I think it's a privilege to have such a good panel of speakers here for this discussion. And to all our audience members, once again, a big thank you to you for joining us today. Please do share your questions and your comments in the Q&A tab. You'll see the tab right at the bottom of your screen in the Zoom app. And share your questions, your comments, your perspectives, whatever you'd like to. And we'll try and take them and cover these towards the end of our conversation today. And now moving on to the first segment that we have for this webinar, I'd like to begin with a short presentation to set the stage. So Surya, I'd like to hand it over to you to walk us through how greytHR is helping reimagine lifecycle management for today's HR leaders. Over to you now.
Thank you, Yasmin. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, happy International HR Day to all the HRs who are attending and across the world. Let's get started. So today's topic is reimagining employee lifecycle management from hire to retire in the digital age. So let me break it down into three parts and try to explain what this topic is all about. The first part I would like to explain is employee lifecycle management. So if you look at the typical employee lifecycle management, it starts from hiring and then onboarding, and then goes into performance management, engagement, retention, expense management, time tracking, payroll management, and a lot of things happen through the employee life cycle. And once everything happens, the retirement or the offboarding or exit. So together, all these different phases in which an HR will participate is called as an employee life cycle management. Now, the second important thing in this particular discussion is the digital age. So specifically for EMEA or Middle East region, if you look at the last 4 decades of HR evolution, I think in the 1990s, HRs were pretty much treated as an administrative personnel management, right? So pretty much the compliance and manual payroll actually took a lot of time of the HRs, and there were nothing related to digital. I think in 2000s, the globalization has happened, and that's where the focus shifted from manual payroll and manual leave management or attendance management to slowly into performance reviews and employee benefits to match to the global standards. In 2010, with the advent of mobile app and cloud, the remote hiring, the talent acquisition, and also several other aspects related to mobile app usage, and all these things have taken really high. And HR started getting into the complete employee life cycle. And in 2020, which is 4 or 5 years ago, we had this disruption with COVID and remote onboarding to employee engagement, mental wellness, and AI-driven analytics, started taking a lot of priority. So digital age is very key because in the last 4 decades, the role of HR has been continuously evolving. And the third part is reimagining. So why we should reimagine now and why is it very urgent? So for two main reasons. One, lot of HRs and customers that we see, they use fragmented solutions. There is no full suite hire to retire solution, because of which a lot of data actually gets into a siloed mode. The integrations become tougher, and there is no seamless experience to the HRs, and hence it reflects a lot on the employee experience. The second thing is the multi-generational workforce. Today, if we go back to 3 decades ago, a generation gap would be somewhere at least 3 to 2 decades, right? Now the generation gap has shortened from 5 to 10 years. Every 5-10 years, we have a new generation, because the way our employees choose technology, the way they use technology varies drastically between somebody who's born in 70s and 80s versus somebody who's born in 90s and 2000s, right? So it becomes very critical for HRs to actually look at how to cater to different multi-generational employees and the employee experience. And hence, it's very important for us to discuss about how we reimagine the employee lifecycle management in this digital age. Now, moving on, I'm representing greytHR, and greytHR is one of the full suite HRMS. We were awarded, best HRMS in mobile tech by Business World People Tech recently in 2025. We simplify operations and elevate employee experience. So we are one of the world's leading HR management system. And this is our full suite HRMS. So we offer recruit management where, recruit the talent, and then, move into the core HR, which is essentially the employee information management, right from employee communications to reports to, generating letters, and also the workforce management where the time tracking, leave, attendance, and specifically in the context of Middle East, something like split shift, where the construction labor actually comes to the work either early in the morning or late in the evening or afternoon. To the payroll, specifically the compliance management, the payslip generation, the pay reports, to performance management, business expense claims management, and also the exit management. So it's a full suite HRMS right from hiring to retire. We also offer a lot of APIs for integrations. There is a single sign-on, and also there is an employee web and mobile app, plus advanced analytics and reporting. This is what we are. Today, we serve 3 million plus employees on our platform. In April, we turned 3 million. And last year, we completed our 30 years in the business with tremendous expertise in payroll and HR automation, both in India and Middle East regions. And our solution is right now used by more than 30,000 customers across multiple industries, right from manufacturing to healthcare to retail to IT, ITES, education, so on and so forth. And it's pretty much used in 25 plus countries. Why is greytHR a right choice for you? We are ISO certified. We have automated backup. All the data is secured, and our reliability is 99.3% consistently month over month. We also have a full suite HRMS, which means there are no different HR and payroll modules. There is a real-time data sync of HR into the payroll module. And also we are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, GDPR ready, and local PDPA ready. It's pretty easy. We do close to 500 to 600 implementations of small and medium businesses every month. That's the scale at which we operate, and we onboard close to 100,000 employees on our platform almost every month. And we offer multiple plans for small and large businesses. Beyond what we offer as a product, we also help the HR community in various ways. One of the things is HR Academy, where today we have around 35,000 plus learners who actually come and learn on our academy free of cost. And we also have Great FM podcast, which is recognized as one of the best podcasts by the Academic Times, and also Parichay webinar, where we talk about different topics, right from POSH to hybrid workforce to workplace automation, etc., from the industry HR leaders. We have a thriving tribe community where HRs and employees come and discuss a lot of HR topics. We also offer a lot of free resources and HR compliances. Our company and product is trusted by 30,000 plus companies. These are some of the resonating names in the EMEA region. We are also recognized as leader in trusted software marketplaces, specifically G2 and Gartner, with more than 4.3 and 4.4 rating. In addition, very recently, as I was saying, we were awarded the best HRMS and mobile HR tech by Business World, also the tech solution provider of the year by Economic Times, and we are the 9th best software company in India in 2024 and the only HRMS company in the top 10. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Surya, for those valuable insights and for telling us how great EHR is actually, changing the way for HRMS, especially in India and the Middle East. And now it's time to dive deeper into our panel discussion. And I want to start by asking all my three speakers a broad open question. And for that, Kabira, since you're my only lady in the panel, I'll come to you first. As HR leaders and tech innovators, how do you redefine the concept of an intelligent employee life cycle in today's digital age? And according to you, Kabira, why is it more urgent than ever to reimagine it?
Thank you, Yasmin. And firstly, Surya, great presentation. Congratulations on all the awards which you have won and your team has won in the organization. So if I pick up a few points which Surya mentioned about how HR has evolved. So if you want to remain in that pace of proactively being a core business partner to the business, you have to understand proactively what the employee requires. So you have to understand the pulse of the employees. And to understand that, this is the main thing as to see what is currently happening. One is employee experience. We've moved away from just talking about a task. It's the experience, the life cycle. And to give them a meaningful life cycle, you need a lot of data, which AI is very complementary to it. I wouldn't say AI is the be it and all it, but it does help you to enhance the employee experience. Should you decide not be part of it, your competition will take away the talent which you have. You won't be able to retain the talent. And at the end of the day, employee satisfaction is directly linked to the business outcome. So I guess that's why I would answer to your point that this is how it all sums up.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. In today's time and age, when digital transformation has kind of overtaken all businesses, we need to think smartly when it comes to employee experience as well. Use technology, use AI to understand what your employees are liking, not liking, what is it that they want, and then create programs based on that intelligence that you get. Kunal, your thoughts around this also. What does intelligent employee life cycle in today's time and age mean for you?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Yasmin, for having me on board at the outset. I think in today's organizational context, where turnover is high, customer expectations are soaring, and digital disruption is rewriting the new rules as such, the concept of intelligent employee life cycle isn't just a buzzword. It's basically survival in my context. I believe that an intelligent employee life cycle basically means embedding smart technologies, whether it is AI, analytics, automation, all these touch points of an employee's journey coming together. We can talk about hiring seasonal workers to developing future managers, for that matter. It's about turning the whole concept of data analytics into actionable insights that drive personalization within the organization, that drives speed, that drives resilience within the organization. And I think a couple of factors that would primarily come to my mind why this are important is because the talent crisis in organization or the industries is real. So post pandemic, we have realized that I come from retail and FMCG organizations. So the frontline workers demand more flexibility, growth, respect. And with the turnover rates, often exceeding 50, 60% sometimes, organizations can't really afford slow hiring or generic training. So imagine using AI to predict which candidates thrive in high pressure, holiday rushes or chatbots to answer the onboarding questions instantly. It just helps. It is not just futuritics. It is what top organizations are doing right now to cut time to hire, approximately by, let's say, 50% and keep their staff engaged at the same point in time. A couple of other perspectives that come to my mind are associated to customer experience, which primarily depend on employee experience. So safe to say, your employees are your brand. And let's say in my organization, if a cashier is burned out or a sales associate lacks product knowledge, then customers will notice this, right? You as a customer would notice this. So intelligent tools like, let's say, real-time performance dashboards or micro-learning apps would deliver those kind of bite-sized training during shift, ensuring that your teams are adapting to the new products or the omni-channel demands that exist overnight. Finally, I think it's all about agility. There is a lot of disruption today, so I think agility always helps. And consumer trends are shifting really, really fast. Retailers or FMCG organizations need workforces that pivot more faster as well. So predictive analysis in more ways than one can forecast those skill gaps. And I think when we talk about the intelligence concept as such, it must be very human centered as well. That is one point that I would like to say. Where I come from, diversity and empathy matter, and AI tools must also combat biases in hiring, not necessarily amplify it. So while automation handles repetitive tasks, leaders must basically double down on human skills like coaching, creativity, connection, and all those things. And I think in a global sense that way, reimagining the employee life cycle isn't just about replacing people with tech. It's about basically empowering your frontline with tools that they need to thrive. So whether it is your stores, your brand, they all thrive together. And in a hyper competitive era, the cost of acting, the cost of not acting, let's say, is basically losing talent customers as well.
Exactly. Great points again. Thanks, Kunal. From the hire to retire cycle, I think it's very interesting that we can actually have these tools enable, empower our entire processes, our manpower, our employees, and then help them become better at what they're doing already while getting intelligent insights on what's working and what's not. But yes,
True.
amongst all of this, what remains at the core is having the human touch also intact. So while you can have automation everywhere, do not miss out the human touch. Surya, your thoughts, you come from the products standpoint here. How have you seen, what does an intelligent employee life cycle mean to you today?
Thank you. I think Kabira and Kunal covered most of the points, being human-centric, tech-powered, post-pandemic research, etc.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think there are a lot of AI-driven expectations. Employees and HRs now expect consumer-grade tech. For example, everybody uses consumer-grade apps like Amazon, Netflix, and you get personalized recommendations. You get world-class user experience. I think employees, when they actually use the HR tech, or they expect the same kind of experience when it comes to the tech. Human-centric is always there in HR, but when it comes to tech, I think the consumer grade tech expectation, it should be seamless. It should also be predictive. It should be mobile first, because specifically in retail and in a lot of other desk-less workforce, I think mobile first user experience plays a prominent role, and all these add up to the intelligent employee lifecycle.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. I think, as you said, seamless experience is very important. Mobile first. How are you reaching your people at what is most convenient for them to the last mile? Because they might not be all desk workers, right? They're frontline staff. They're fact shop workers. So, you have to shop floor workers. So you have to kind of create very personalized experiences and to have those kind of tools to enable them. So thanks, Surya, for sharing that as well. So now it's time to dig deeper into our topic one by one. But before that, I have a very interesting audience poll actually, where I like to understand the pulse from our audience. So I request my team, Ragini, if you could pull up the poll question on screen, and request everyone to see the question on the screen and click on the answer that they find most resonating the most with them and what are they most focusing on. So Ragini, if you could pull up the question. The question is, which phase of the employee life cycle poses the biggest challenge in your organization today? Is just one choice: to onboarding and induction, payroll and compliance, attendance and time tracking, retention and engagement, or is it offboarding and alumni management? So which is the biggest challenge for you from these parts of the employee life cycle? Where are you facing the maximum challenge today? And if you could just vote for this, I'll give you another 10 to 15 seconds to make your choice, and then you'll see the results. Okay, I think I can see all my speakers here nodding. Largest chunk of votes have gone to retention and engagement. 58% of people are saying that that's one of the biggest challenge for them in their organization today. I think that's followed by onboarding and induction. Yes, it has to be seamless. Payroll and compliance also. And yes, offboarding, alumni management, and attendance and time tracking, not so much, but still there are some challenges that they face there also. So thank you for sharing that. That kind of sets the tone tone for our speakers. When I come to you with your specific answers, you can understand the kind of challenges our audience members, who are all from the HR fraternity, are facing right now. So now let's dig deeper. And Kabira, again, I'll come to you. At JLL specifically, Kabira, if you can tell me, how are you breaking down the silos across onboarding, payroll, and performance to deliver a unified employee experience? As you mentioned, it's very critical for your organization.
Thanks, Yasmin. So firstly, I think obviously we all resonate to the answers because we all coming from the same industry. We all feel the same pain. It gives me a little bit of more solace that, okay, I'm not the only one. Everyone's facing the similar challenges. Having said that, you have touched on a very important point in terms of onboarding. So while retention is, of course, the biggest challenge, I think somewhere the seed gets, into an employee thinking about whether this is an organization where they see themselves growing is from the onboarding. So today's stage and age, what we realized is that we have to invest very well when we talk about the onboarding tools. It has to have a consistent, standardized, and a similar experience, irrespective where they sit in which part of the world. So that is why we definitely invest a lot in terms of the onboarding. There are two parts to the onboarding, which is one is, of course, the technology, as Surya presented. We also have a platform where you use it and there are standardized stuff which everyone has to go through it. But there is also that element of human touch, which we feel is very important, whether it is from giving them the proper guidelines, processes, welcoming them, making them feel part of it. Because as we all know, as HR professionals, someone joining the organization, irrespective if this is not their first job, the feeling of, have I done the right decision? Have I made the right decision? Is this the place I should have been? That uncertainty, that little bit of hesitant is there. And you need to make them feel confident and comfortable. And that is the first few days where you need that. So what we try to do is we try to make sure that we not only have from our business support team who supports them in getting inducted and settled in the role, but we also have buddy programs. We have, a mentor who comes in and supports them and takes them into their department. Sometimes the departments also go out of their way of organizing lunches during the first week, just to make sure that the individual feels, very homely. Now, coming from onboarding to payroll is another experience which is very personal, which is very emotional, and hence you have to make sure that you have the right tools available. Again, definitely everyone has an automated process, but how do you make it user friendly? How does the individual can reach out to the HR operations team if they have queries? So we have created a platform where they can raise the ticket, and the HR team members are measured on the type of answers they give and how fast they answer. This has eliminated a lot of frustration from the employees because they get a better experience. And a lot of times we also use the AI tools where the answers are much more directly, like how you use a chat GPT. We have a JLL chat where you can immediately go onto it and a lot of answers are answered there. So that's another way of handling it. And then when it comes to performance, we have moved away from having performance driven by the HR, because again, we can't be seen as policing and something as a tick box. It is more an employee driven exercise. So we have made it that employee needs to set up times with their managers, whether they have monthly conversations, whether they have quarterly, it's upon them and how they want to manage their performance. We call it as quality conversations versus having a mid-year review and an annual review. It's an ongoing process. We also have created feedback loops, meaning an individual is able to take feedback from any manager at any point in time, whether they are working with different departments, so that they can collect all that. And when they go and sit with their manager, they're able to showcase what they have done so that they have enough evidence to show. We've also made it a very, very important part of the performance cycle is not only the what and the how. Everyone believes in that you need how as a leadership behavior or an individual behavior to be part of it. JLL values, which have to be part of your performance evaluation. So these are some of the things which we are trying to bring in, which breaks the silos and gives a unified experience to an employee. Hope that gives you some context.
Yes, in fact, thank you so much, Kabira. I think with the large number of employees that come under the JLL flagship. I think it's not easy to manage, firstly. So yes, you have to use technologies and tools to enable this kind of a seamless integration. I think integration is the key word here, right? Whether you're onboarding someone, whether you're taking care of the payroll or their performance, firstly, you have to have the right technology in place. Then you have to make sure that it's personalized to that extent where it gets integrated very seamlessly into the system, and then people feel connected to what they're doing. So because onboarding eventually leads to better engagement, payroll and performance leads to better engagement and hence retention, answering what our audience members are kind of curious to know. So thanks for sharing that. Another question that I'll come to you again, Kabira. So you did talk about payroll, onboarding and performance, but how has JLL leveraged data from life cycle touch points like attendance or leave data to make in strategic HR decisions or retention strategies? Have you studied them? How has this intel helped you?
So obviously data is the key thing, right? Any decisions you make, and if you have a right data, it allows you to be more confident in what initiatives you want to run. So we have several touch points. In fact, even for the onboarding, we have the rate of how many people have actually used it. They give feedback after it. We also have recruiters who recruit. They get a feedback in terms of how the experience has been for an individual joined in. So it's not only starting at a very later stage, it starts from the time the person gets into the organization and we start collecting the data. But besides that, as any organization, a global organization would have, we have the employee engagement surveys, which gives us the data points in terms of what are the engagement and where are the opportunities where we can become better. We have platforms like attrition, where we also get the data. We have dashboards, which allows us to see spans and layers, analytics on attrition, which all these data points gives us a sense of understanding as to where we need to focus on. One of the common things, and I'm sure that's part of every HR professional's agenda, is about how do you give career path and how do you give the individual to feel growth in the organization so you're able to retain. So that's one of the things we constantly work based on the data we get. Wellness, again, I'm sure not something which I'm talking as rocket science. Everyone does that, but very important, right? It's as we understand, listen through these matrix and data points, we realize that not only the traditional things are what is driving an individual to stay in an organization. Now, these are the things which are much more important. So wellness initiatives, or like, for instance, we have mental aiders in our organization and we get them certified so people feel comfortable to come and talk to them. We have global wellness initiatives, which give individuals an opportunity for different types of situations which they would like to address. As I said, career pathing. Then we have mentoring program. We have a huge platform globally where you can pick your mentor in order to get more knowledge. Doesn't have to be within the same geography. It could be from other geography, other business line. Again, these are some of the ways of getting individuals much more see their career in JLL. So what we say is, when we hire you, we do not hire you for the role, we hire you for your career in JLL, because we think that with all these initiatives, including global mobility, we would be able to retain an individual much more than our competition. That's the way of looking at it.
Thanks for sharing that again, Kabira. I think one of the most important aspects of the HR function today is, in times of technology, is, are you listening to your employees? And that's where data plays a very key role. So the listening part is done through data, and then it helps you make better decisions on your programs, your processes. So thank you for sharing that. So now, before we move on to my questions, and I'd like to come to Kunal, but Kunal, before I ask you a specific question, I have another audience poll. So to understand what are their current HR systems and how are they using, how integrated are their systems today? So Ragini, I'll request you to pull up audience poll question number 2 on screen, please. Thank you. So the question is, how integrated are your current HR systems across the hire to retire journey? And you have options like fully integrated, and it's a seamless experience, partially integrated with some manual processes, mostly siloed with separate systems for each function, And fourth is not sure, you're exploring options. So it'll be interesting to know where are you in your journey. A lot of organizations are moving towards a fully integrated system, while some are still working on partial, some have their own separate systems for each function. So it'll be very interesting to know what our audience members are, at what stage they are in their journey. So I'll give you another 10 seconds. Please do vote. Great. Again, we have a winner in place already with 65% of people saying their systems are partially integrated with some manual processes which are still there. Fully integrated, good to know. 13% yes. Some people have reached that part in their place in their journey. 16% are still saying we are mostly siloed. We have separate systems for each function, and 5% people are not sure yet, and they are exploring options to see how they can have a more integrated, hire to retire journey in their organization. So thank you. That actually gives us a lot of idea about how organizations are looking at their systems today and how important integration is becoming there. So thank you for sharing that. And now coming to you, Kunal, and you work with an industry like retail, which has very unique workforce dynamics. We have hourly shifts, seasonal surges, frontline roles. So what role does automation play in managing the hire to retire life cycle in such an environment for you?
Okay, so I think from a hire to retire life cycle perspective, when Surya was going through his presentation, he did give us a snapshot about how it looks like. But I will speak specifically from a retail FMCG and a GCC context perspective. So in the GCC, the retail sector is very, very fast paced, where hourly shifts, seasonal mega events, and let's say culturally diverse frontline teams, they define operations. Hence, automation isn't just about efficiency over here. It's about key to balancing the whole compliance, agility, and the concept of world-class customer service experiences. If I have to break it down and using some snippets from Surya's slide, we can start off with the concept of hiring for speed and localization. So GCC retailers face seasonal spikes. There is Ramadan, there is Eid, there is Dubai Shopping Festival, and there are strict localization mandates. Example, Emiratization, Omanization, or Saudiization. So automation in this segment would tackle the concept of, let's say, AI-driven job matching that prioritizes candidates with language skills, availability for peak hours, while auto-verifying localization quotas in the system. Second, chatbots can conduct 24/7 candidate screenings via WhatsApp, which is critical for expat workers in different time zones. The second perspective can be associated to onboarding for, let's say, instant compliance with GCC's stringent labor laws. There is something called as a wage protection system for pay UAE. So when you have these kind of aspects running around in the backend, automation would ensure digital contracts are auto-aligned with the local regulations. And let's say micro-learning modules on cultural nuances are delivered via mobile apps for deskless staff, especially the frontline staff in this particular case. The third aspect can be referred to smart scheduling for, cultural rhythms, if I may say so. Peak seasons, over here with shorter Ramadan hours or mega events like, let's say, Expo 2020 in the past or Expo 2030, which is coming up later in the GCC. When you look at these kind of activities, automation can also enable, let's say, AI power shift planning using sales data, foot traffic, and even weather forecast for that matter. So I don't know if you guys know, but there was a sandstorm in Riyadh some time back. So it can predict all these particular elements as well. And self-service apps can let employees swap shift during Eid holidays, cutting no-shows on the floor and boosting morale within the team as well. Next, I can think of Surya's slide mentioned about performance management. So performance and retention in a transient workforce also comes into picture, where real-time translation tools in training apps to upskill multilingual teams can be, coordinated. Predictive analysis, can flag burnout risk during high-pressure events. I think a couple of more things that come to my mind are primarily associated to compliance and risk management, where in this section, you can have automated alerts for labor law updates. You can have wage protection systems auto-syncing with the GCC payroll regulations to ensure, let's say, timely and accurate payments that happen and error-free payments that may happen. And I think finally, it is associated to the exit and knowledge continuity within the organization, Yasmin, where automated exit surveys are, existing in many organizations. They will identify turnover drivers for you. And then there are digital handover mechanisms, which can capture departing expats' client knowledge to preserve the relationship within the organization. Now, the question is why this matters in GCC and in retail specifically. Look, retail over here is a pillar of economic vision. Like we had Expo 2020, then we are coming up with, FIFA 2034, Expo 2030 is happening. And I think automation bridges the gaps basically, by enabling agility to capitalize on global events that are happening in this particular region. It can deliver hyper personalized experiences for multicultural workforce. It can also ensure compliance without sacrificing speed in the context. So the bottom line for me is that in the GCC, automation isn't about replacing the human touch. It is about elevating it. And by streamlining bureaucracy, retailers over here can empower employees to focus on what machines can't replicate, which is building loyalty in a region where service is, more like an art form in a way.
Okay, that's interesting. Thanks, Kunal, for sharing that. I mean, very interesting examples you shared of how automation and tools can play roles at various touch points in the employee life cycle, especially when you're, working in a retail environment with a deskless workforce more so and globally, and which are spread across locations. So thanks for sharing that. So, Kunal, the next question for you actually is about balancing automation with human. You just spoke about it also. So, how can, especially in instances like onboarding and engagement phases where our workforce is not even there in person to kind of experience that. How are you balancing automation with the human touch points?
So in retail sector, where frontline teams power everything from luxury malls to hypermarkets in this region. The challenge isn't just adopting automation. It's basically, about weaving a human connection into tech-driven processes to engage the deskless workforce, let's say, right, who are also culturally diverse. So when we specifically talk about onboarding over here, I think this is where efficiency meets empathy. And automation's role in this case is about streamlining compliance with the GCC labor laws, where digital contracts are auto-aligned with the wage protection system or Saudi's quotas or localization quotas over here. Second is it can deliver mobile-first training, where bite-sized videos on POS systems can come in. Ramadan promotions can go through WhatsApp, for example, and it is accessible to workers without corporate emails, let's say, right? And an example that I can share with you is that, let's say a retailer in Qatar uses AI chatbots to onboard seasonal staff in 5 languages, cutting the onboarding time by, let's say, 30 to 40%, right? And the human touch points in this case would be creating buddy systems, pairing new hires with tenured employees to navigate cultural nuances, let's say, having face-to-face welcome sessions, having cultural orientations in the organization through local trainers, who can explain the GCC customer expectations, right? The second part of this question you're focusing on is the engagement. In engagement, I think it is more data-driven, but human-centric. In this case, there is, again, a role that automation plays and a human touch aspect. In automation, there could be real-time feedback tools, let's say gamified apps that can track sales targets and send instant recognition to people who are top performers, let's say. And then there is predictive analysis, which can highlight or flag the burnout risk during peak seasons, let's say. There could also be multilingual micro-learning in engagement, as I would like to put it across, because AI can curate product training in, let's say, Tagalog or Hindi or Arabic, and it can cater to a culturally diverse employee profile. Human touchpoints, again, in this particular case would be, let's say, the weekly coffee chats. Managers can host informal huddles to address concerns or appraise their team members, celebrate cultural milestones. Let's say, there are various festivals that we celebrate over here, like Diwali, Eid, Filipina Independence Day, for example. So all these rituals can play a very important role in the human touch points. I think there's also a GCC advantage in this particular section where culture becomes the bridge. So you end up respecting a lot of religious practices, by using automation to adjust schedule for Ramadan prayers, but empower the store managers, let's say, to lead the flex hours beyond the individual needs, as say. And you basically use this and leverage this to create a balance. This balance would basically matter between the automation and human touch points because GCC retailers compete on service excellence, and a blend of tech speed with human warmth will play a pivotal role over there. So if you, let's say, over automate, you will risk alienating deskless teams who crave dignity and development in a way. And if you over automate, then you can drown the managers in admin and leaving no time for mentorship in a way.
Great points. Actually, I think in an industry like retail, which is so focused on customer experience, customer journeys, your employees are the face of your brand. So how they
Absolutely.
are experiencing the organization kind of shows directly to the customer outside. So that is where, if you know, no matter where they are placed, if you have the right kind of tools and technologies and right kind of innovations and initiatives to stay connected with them, I think engagement can be largely taken care of no matter where they're based out of. So Kunal, great examples. Thank you for sharing that. And now let's bring in our tech innovator in the room, Surya. I'll come to you now. From a product innovation lens, Surya, what are the most common gaps that you have seen in how companies are managing their employee life cycle today? And how is great HR addressing these?
Thanks, Jasmine. First, let me talk about the common gaps that companies, see while managing the employee life cycle. You know, the poll actually indicates that there are a lot of fragmented siloed systems. I think that's the first common gap.
Yeah,
Many firms still use disconnected tools. There is one tool for hiring, there is another for payroll, there is another for managing leave and performance, etc. Of course, I think it's not deliberate. As the organization evolves, during the early stages of evolution, the organizations think that, okay, we are good with leave and payroll management, right? We are not hiring much. But as they scale, they start hiring, they look for a different hiring platform. And, due to whatever reasons of the limitations of the existing systems, they end up going into a different tool. And then once they have a large chunk of employees, building high performing teams becomes one of the key criteria, and then jump into another tool. So that's where fragmented usage of tools is one of the key problems.
yeah,
Now, 63%, if I remember correctly, have these kind of things. And because of that, there are a lot of lack of insights. Like HR leaders often struggle to make data-backed decisions because there are poor analytics or siloed data. You export from one system, import another system, put everything onto spreadsheet, and try to, understand and get insights out of the data. Right. So that's another big gap that emanates out of the fragmentation. And third gap I see is the low adoption, be it the poor user experience, or a lot of these siloed systems don't offer mobile app, right? Because of which deskless workers can't really clock in their time or apply for leave or look at the payslip properly. And specifically to the Middle East context, if you look at the top 5 industries, the first, as we all know, is oil and gas or energy sector, be it Aramco or Kuwait Petroleum or Qatar Energy, right? And the second is, construction and real estate, be it in Dubai or Riyadh or Doha. We have Kabira representing JLL and real estate in our panel. And the third industry is hospitality, tourism and
yeah,
airlines, right? Be it Emirates, Etihad, Hilton, and again the healthcare, where we have Mediclinic and NMC, and then the retail and FMCG. You have Lulu Group, Landmark Group. We have Kunal from Choithrams representing retail. So if you look at the top 5 industries, you see a lot of frontline blue collar deskless jobs more than the actual white collar tech jobs, right?
yeah,
So now specifically if we double click on, let's say, UAE, right? So 88% of the population are expats, and sectors like construction and retail actually see an average tenure of 2 years in UAE, right? So in these kind of situations, and considering a lot of gaps, how great HR addresses that is, we have a full suite HRMS, so it's not fragmented, right? And with this level of average tenures and attrition, frequent onboarding and offboarding becomes paramount, right? And HR teams must handle high volumes of hiring and exit formalities, and digitizing that becomes a key aspect. Having everything in a single system, eases out a lot of burden for the HRs. And also the automated onboarding workflows to quick provision of access and digital offboarding. These things play a prominent role, and great HR does that really well. The second thing, of course, is the mobile first self-service. Many expats tend to live in shared accommodations. They might not be having desktops, right? So mobile HR apps actually become very essential for leave application or payslip access or attendance access.
mm,
Just for the stats purpose, we have more than 1 million downloads in both App Store and Play Store with ratings more than 4.3 and 4.4. And we are only among the top 10 in the entire world having that kind of a track record. And our mobile app today has more than 860,000 active users on a daily basis. And I think It's also important to have data and insights for workforce planning. This level of churn also requires, how to forecast the turnover, manage the, recruitment process, etc. We help immensely there. And in addition, we offer a zero cost support model, whether it's a small company, medium company, or a large company. There is absolutely no cost involved to raise a support ticket or to address any query. This actually reduces the friction and helps with a lot of HR activities.
Great, thanks. Thanks for sharing this, Surya. And as you said, that in times where a lot of platforms are disintegrated and fragmented, and that also leads to low adoption, I think organizations need to look at unification. I think that's the way forward for digital, especially in the HR function today. So thanks for sharing those examples and how great HR is giving a complete suite of offerings for that. Another question that I have for you, Surya, is how are technologies like facial recognition, geofencing, and AI-based analytics being integrated ethically and securely into lifecycle management, according to you?
Absolutely. I think, when it comes to, again, the remote workers, specifically at manufacturing plants, right? Facial recognition as a technology, one of the, primary AI-based in terms of computer vision is very important for attendance and access control in a contactless management. I think the boom for facial recognition has also increased during the COVID pandemic because we were all, in the social distancing and so on and so forth. Geofencing is also very critical because these days a lot of companies have distributed teams, and hence location-based check-ins becomes extremely important, specifically in sales and service roles, even in tech roles, right, for the attendance tracking. And AI analytics, I think like Kunal was indicating earlier, it powers attrition prediction, engagement trend analysis. We tend to roll every quarter or twice in a year the ESAT surveys, and we need to look at the trend analysis, the workforce planning, and also a lot on the personalized L&D pathways, right? The other day I was listening to somebody and I came to know that the shelf life of any new skill a decade ago was close to 10 years, and now it reduced to 12 to 18 months, which means our workforce, if not skilled, is going to be outdated in the next 12 to 18 months. And everybody has a different need or has a way of learning, and hence personalized L&D pathways rather than a generic course becomes paramount in terms of the um, these AI-based technology integrations. Now, coming to specifically ethically and securely integrating it becomes extremely important because first and foremost thing is the data minimization, right? Just collect only what is necessary. For example, biometric data. We don't even need biometric data. Use it just for authentication because one, it protects privacy. Two, it also need to comply with regulations, be it GDPR or UAE's data protection law or Saudi Arabia's PDPL. The second thing is consent and transparency. I think we all need to ensure that employees are informed and they're opted in and feel secured. And third most important thing, which I think is being spoken a lot across the globe these days, is the AI explainability. Because a solution might use an AI model, right? And it should be auditable. The reason why it should be auditable is, say, for example, an AI tool actually predicts that, okay, a so-and-so employee is flagged as a attrition risk, right? That they are going to attract in the next few months. And if we audit that model, it should tell why it has actually prompted it that way. Is it because the drop in the engagement scores over the last 3 quarters, or maybe there is a longer average response time to manager communications, or there is no absolutely recent learning and development activity, or the performance rating declined after the promotion is denied, right? So AI, when it makes decisions, it should also be auditable, which makes it much more ethical and secure when we actually integrate it into the overall life cycle.
Thanks. Great points again, Surya. I think when I'm using tools like AI and geofencing and biometrics, all of that really does revolve around how ethically are you using the data that you're getting. And as you said, use to collect the data, only that data that's required. You don't need all data. So that way you make your organizations more secure and more ethical also. So thank you for sharing those examples. And now before we move on to our audience questions, it's time for the final question from my panelists here. It's a closing question, and I'd request each one of you to answer and give me one piece of advice to HR leaders looking to future-proof their employee life cycle strategy, what would it be? And what's that one thing that they should start doing tomorrow itself? Kabira, let's hear from you first.
I guess it's very difficult to say in just one the way you're asking, but I would say, as you rightly said, to have the pulse or listen, and
Yeah.
then be agile, adaptable, and authentic, keeping the compliance and ethics in mind.
That's a great way to sum it up, actually. You have to be agile, you have to be authentic, and you have to
Adaptable.
be and adaptable. Great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Kabira. Kunal, your one piece of advice to HR leaders who want to future-proof their employer life cycle.
That's a tricky one, right? Always advising somebody else.
Yeah.
But I'll speak about what I have tried to do as an experiment in the past. I would suggest, in my humble opinion, to try and prioritize hyper-personalization at scale. Where I come from, there are a lot of frontline workers. They are diverse, they are transient. So a cookie cutter approach does not necessarily work over there. So use AI and real-time data to tailor to every life cycle stage, if possible. How you can start tomorrow is by auditing your existing employee data. So look at turnover drivers, look at performance trends, look at your engagement surveys, and try and see if you can pilot a personalization sprint in one specific area.
Yeah, great, great advice. Thank you so much, Kunal. Surya, what about you?
I will just endorse the answers from Kabira and Kunal. One, I think the biggest takeaway for me from this webinar is triple A, right? One answer that Kunal was answering at the start of this webinar was AI, analytics, and automation, right?
Yeah.
Which I think there should be a balance between all the three, and HR should know when to use what. And then what Kabira beautifully mentioned, agile, authentic, and adaptable, right?
Yes.
So triple A is what I would say as an advice.
I think I'll totally endorse that as well. I think both from what Kunal and Kabira said. And as organization move towards future-proofing these strategies, I think it's the right combination, the right balance of automation, of AI and human is going to be the key. I think it's going to be key in defining what organizations become in the future, especially with integrated systems, hyper-personalization, and making it seamless for employees and enabling them to bring their best selves to work. So thank you for sharing that. And it's now time for a few audience questions, and I'd like to come to all of you and see what answers can we give to them. And if they have more questions, I'm requesting my audience members to please post your questions if you have any more. So the first question I have is from Hasnain Rajkotwala, who says, how can digital learning platforms support continuous employee development throughout the life cycle? This is a question open to all. I think all three of you, anybody who'd like to take it up first would be great.
I can start and then maybe. So again, I think Surya touched upon it in a conversation about how important skills development is and how quick we have to be. So coming back on the question where it's the question is about how do we keep the continuous learning or development of life cycle. Obviously no one can take away the personal touch of face-to-face conversations and those learning. But having said that, with the fast pace we are moving and constantly requiring training, I think it's a blended approach where you have bite-sized learning through, which could be through podcasts, through online, and then you have probably booster sessions where you have a group of people and you do so you will have to look at your audience, their needs and work around. But I think just focusing on one will not be something which you should be looking at, and it cannot be it has to be fast paced. So you will have to be able to adapt and update those things quickly. Just last one more thing I would like to add is we have started becoming more skill based organization than just having a task oriented. So that's another thing which you have to keep in mind, that constantly think about skills which are required for an individual and try to create your learning platform accordingly.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Thanks, Mansa, Kabira. Anything anybody would like to chime into what Kabira said? Kunal, Surya?
I would quickly want to add, I think learning throughout the employee lifecycle journey using digitization platform is one aspect. And true learning never really happens because somebody does a course. It actually happens when we reflect on what we learned, right? And the digitization across employee cycle, be it, let's say somebody onboards, there are certain 30, 60, 90-day plans where the employee goes through certain learning. And then during, the promotion cycle or the performance management, there is certain learning, right? As long as somebody actually focuses more on the outcome and impact based learning, I think it will definitely help the entire organization.
Yes, lovely. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Another question that I have coming up is from Garfield D'Souza, who says, what role does AI and automation play in enhancing recruitment specifically? So anybody would like to answer? Kunal, if you'd like to take it up first.
I think in the most simplest of terms, AI and automation would enhance recruitment by streamlining, your activities like resume screening, sourcing candidates, scheduling interviews, conducting assessments, and maybe improving candidate communication as well. So they increase efficiency, reduce the biases that are more popular when humans talk to each other. But they should be properly designed to reduce biases. That is one stipulation that I would like to add over there. And it would also help identify the best fit candidates faster in a way if the biases are reduced. One interesting element that I would like to highlight over here, it was just few days back, I was listening to a AI call that happened, and it blew my mind away with regards to how emotional empathy has been integrated in AI in today's time. So let's say if a candidate coughs by mistake, on a call, the AI is actually asking whether you're okay or not. So, it has gone to that particular level. So I think it's amazing how things are coming up and how the timelines for recruitment could be shortened by using AI efficiencies.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think timelines can be shortened. You can actually do it could be more faster and more at scale at the same time you can do. So I think that's where. Any other thoughts, Kabira or Surya, you'd like to add?
Absolutely. I think Kunal beautifully touched upon a lot of things, specifically on the resume screening, right? There
Yeah,
are some, high impact roles and, most popular roles where at times recruiters receive 500 or 1,000 resumes, right? And it's humanly impossible for them to actually match against the job description and sort it out and give a scoring. And
true.
these kind of repetitive mundane activities can be automated, and AI actually comes into picture in terms of the natural language processing and mapping and scoring the resume. There is a job description, there is a resume. You look at the keywords and then you actually score whether it's a high, medium, or low. And then, maybe out of the 1,000 resumes, give the top 10 for the further screening with the hiring manager. And there are a lot of use cases. I think recruitment is one of the key HR function that got disrupted with automation and also AI.
Yes, absolutely. I think it was one of the first ones actually, I feel, that started using AI, especially in terms of resume screening. I mean, that's what I heard. Kunal, you want to add something more?
On that same example, Surya, I would like to add, just as an experimental test, we hired one particular profile in the HR department in 2017 when we did not know much about AI as such, right?
Yeah.
Just to, understand what we did versus how it could work right now. We took all those CVs, we took the job description, we put it into an AI interface and prompted it to provide an answer. So the candidate that we eventually ended up hiring was number 3 as per AI, all right, from a job skill match perspective, which is fine. At least in the top 3, the person had come. But the best part was the person who was on number 2 was not even called for the interview. Now, it could be a human error where, amongst the pool of CVs that Surya just mentioned, the profile is just lost. So I think that's where the biases or oversights could potentially end as well. So that's an interesting example, which I just experimented a couple of months back. So I would like to highlight that over here.
Thanks, Kunal. Great example. I think, as we all know, at the end of it all, we will use automation, AI, all of that, but can't let go of the human connection and the human aspect of, I think, in any function of HR. That's what we are all here for. And we, as Kabira said, it has to be authentic, adaptable, and we have to be ethical in the way we use all these technologies also, and reimagine our entire employee life cycle from the hire to retire, aspects. So on that note, that was all the time I had for my webinar, but I would really like to thank you, Kabira, Kunal, Surya, for such enlightening insights, and also my audience members for engaging and being with us for this 1 hour. One clear message has emerged that managing the employee life cycle intelligently, it's no longer a nice to have, it is definitely a business imperative. So on that note, I hope you have some practical frameworks and fresh perspectives to bring back to your organizations. On behalf of ETHR World EMEA and greytHR, thank you once again for joining us today. Until next time, stay inspired and stay connected. Thank you so much. Bye, Kabira.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.